What are automations, AI automations and AI agents? Before we can start build out these things, we need to define some words. So let's just dive straight into it because there's a lot of confusion out there. So first, if we simply ask ChatGPT, define the word automation in a short way, ChatGPT tells us automation is using technology to perform tasks automatically without human intervention. And that's basically the easy explanation. This is a normal automation, so no AI automation and also no AI agent. What we need for these automations, because we can absolutely make normal automations. For a normal automation, we always need a trigger and an action. So basically, if, then. If people give us their number, we should call them back. And if we automate this would be an automation. Now something that can happen but don't have to happen, a cascade of events or more triggers and actions. Let me show you one of the simplest automations out there. Also one of the first automations that we will build later. This would be a really simple automation that we will build. Basically we have here a trigger node and an action node. And what does all of this mean? Basically this trigger is an on-form submission. If we simply press test workflow, you see that we get here an on-form submission. You can embed this into web pages, do whatever you want. Basically if we type here in, for example, our name, let's just say Arnie, and I want to have, for example, the deluxe room, I can simply press submit. And then my workflow will get executed. So this was the trigger and now the action gets executed. The action basically was that we have connected our trigger node with Airtable. Airtable simply uses the API. We will simply throw in the data in my Airtable sheet automatically. So you see Arnie deluxe room. And if we do this again, it works again. So test workflow, this thing pops up. This time my name is Bob and I want to have a single room. I press submit. This thing will get executed. Then I come back here and Bob wants to have a single room. So this works completely automatical without human intervention. I can embed this on-form submission into a website and I don't have to do anything and my data gets stored over an API in Airtable. And of course, I will show you exactly what's an API, how all of this is working. So don't worry, we will do this slowly, step by step. And by definition, this would be an automation. Because we used technology to perform a task automatically without human intervention. People can type in their information and the task gets executed, this data gets stored into my Airtable datasheet. And we used the simplest way, the stuff that we always need, a trigger and an action. This is right now no cascade of events and we don't use more trigger nodes and we don't have more actions, so this is the simplest automation that you can build. And by the way, these triggers can be anything. You can trigger these things over WhatsApp, over Telegram, over emails. If you get an email, if you get updates in Airtable, updates in Google Sheets. It could be a time trigger, it could be a webhook, it could be on-row edit by Google Sheets, it could be anything and I will show you everything that's possible. Basically, you have a lot of options here. I will show you all of them. So automations check. What's an AI automation? An AI automation, at least how I see it, is basically the same thing, but with an LLM included as the brain. Basically an LLM like ChatGPT, like Claude, like Gemini, DeepSeek and so on, Llama. A LLM is the brain and can make decisions here. It can, for example, summarize data, convert data, make sentiment analysis and a lot more. As soon as we have an LLM included, we have an AI automation. Because we don't pass just variables through these automations, we will convert these variables intelligently with AI. And also don't worry if you do not know what LLMs are, how LLMs work and so on. I will show you this in more detail, of course. Basically, ChatGPT is an LLM, and these things can simply work as the brain in our automations. Our AI automation is basically something like this. Once again, we have a trigger, and we also have an action that will occur. This is a sentiment analysis. People can simply once again use a non-form submission, tell us if they are happy or not. Then our brain, the LLM, will make the sentiment analysis, spits out just one single word, and then this word gets stored into Google Sheets. Let's just test this workflow so that you can see it. We press test workflow. Let's just say my name is here Peter. And let's just say Peter likes to write fluff in his reviews. I am super impressed by the service in this location. The room was clean, I love that everybody is nice, nobody tried to rob me, I also got a bit of water. And you can see that there are also some typos, and everything is completely fine. Our LLM will simply look at this thing and then do everything autonomously. So let's just send this out, let's just press submit. Our LLM will simply think and make an analysis, give us simply one single word, and everything gets stored into Google Sheets. And everything that we got is of course Peter positive into our Google Sheets. Because the LLM, the brain of our automation, was smart enough to make a sentiment analysis. This would be a really simple AI automation. And now you know what an AI automation is. Before we go on and define AI agents, I want to tell you that just with these two things you can do so many things, even if just with trigger and action. Because here in n8n you have so much different things. You can trigger your things manually, you can use on-app events, and here you can include everything as a trigger node. So you see, you can connect really nearly every single thing that you can think of. This will never ever stop if I don't stop scrolling. So you see, you can really do a lot with this thing. You can use unscheduled triggers, and for example, post on social media every day, like 2 times or 3 times or whatever, completely automatically. You will get this scheduled trigger. You can use on webhook calls and call n8n out from other automations. You can use this on form submissions. You can use when executed by another workflow. So basically you can build other workflows and call n8n and make then your normal automations. And you can use human in the loop. So basically, even if you just make normal automations, the possibilities are completely endless. And now let's talk about AI agents. Basically, it's once again the same thing as an AI automation. But this time the brain also has tools that it can use. Or it can call or talk, let's just make this right, to other LLMs. Let me show you an AI agent. This would basically be an AI agent. Now why is this an AI agent and what can this AI agent do? So let's just see what this thing is doing, and please don't be worried. We will do this slowly step by step. Basically we have once again a trigger node. This time we trigger over Telegram, so we can simply either write to this thing or talk to this thing. Then this thing is our so-called AI agent, our brain, the LLM, and because the brain has tools, it's an AI agent. Now what does this mean? I can simply talk to this thing and use these tools. And here you see one tool that is called Gmail Summary. So I can basically say to this thing, summarize my last 5 emails, and I will get a summary. I can also say to this thing, write a mail to Arnie, invite him to my birthday party, and this thing will send the email. I can use the calendar set to insert new data in my calendar, and I can use the calendar get to see what's on my calendar. And it also remembers the stuff that we are talking about. And this thing also writes back to me in Telegram. This would be an AI agent. And don't worry, like we will do this step by step. And now I want to show you a big AI agent. Now this is basically a big AI agent. Here we have, for example, once again the same triggers. Telegram, we can write and talk to this thing. We use OpenRouter with different LLM models. We have an AI agent and a basic LLM chain, so that this thing can also talk to us over Telegram. It can write to us over Telegram. And then this thing is special because it uses a lot of sub workflows. If I tell to this thing, write me a post on X, this sub workflow gets executed. If I tell to this thing, search me the newest information about Hacker News, it will use the search agent. And the research agent is basically this. So this thing gets called from our other AI agent, and this thing will then go on and search Hacker News or the SERP API from Google or Wikipedia or whatever. And if I ask this thing something about my emails, it will go on, trigger the email agent, and the email agent can basically do everything in my emails. It can label emails, it can get the emails, it can mark as read, mark as unread, and so on. So basically this AI agent has tools, and not only tools, it can also talk to other LLMs. It can write, but it can also speak. It has a second LLM chain. And we can switch the brain with different models. So this is a really strong AI agent. And also here, don't worry, like we will do this step by step. Especially about AI agents, we have a lot of definitions. And in this course I want to tell you also the definition from Andrew Karpathy. Basically, if an LLM has tools, you can call it AI agent. BotPress has also a gigantic article that wants to tell us what's an AI agent. But as soon as an LLM has tools, we can call it agent. You can see an LLM more or less like a computer. And the context window is the RAM. Don't worry, we will define the LLM in more detail. And the LLM can basically speak to other LLMs. It can browse the internet with these tools. You can simply generate audio or get audio back. You can also generate video and get video back. This is right now, let's just call it in beta, this is not that great. But you can use different tools, for example Python interpreter, terminals and so on. And you can see this as the standard software 1.0 tools, like a classical computer. And you have also a file system with embeddings with the RAG technology. Like I said, don't worry, I want to explain this in more detail over the next videos. Andrew Karpathy has also this graph, and as soon as more LLMs start to talk to each other, we can use, for example, one LLM as the CEO, and every single one of these LLMs can have, for example, more tools, just like you saw in our previous example. So the CEO can, for example, use other LLMs, and every other LLM can do specific things. You saw it here, this is the CEO, and the CEO has an employee that is called the Gmail tool. The Gmail tool has also an AI agent as brain and has more tools to use, just like you see here. The CEO has different workers and it will simply manage these workers, and every one of these workers is, for example, expert in one specific thing. Karpathy calls them CFO, CTO, COO, General Counsel, Chief Scientists, and so on. And you can basically build entire organizations with these AI agents. This is really powerful, and I do think that we will completely go into this direction more and more over the next years, because these things start to get useful. By the way, as soon as one of these workers also uses tools, we call it function calling, but don't worry, I will explain all of this in more detail. One last quick summary. Automation is using technology to perform tasks automatically without human intervention. In order to create an automation, you need a trigger and an action needs to occur. It can be a cascade of events with more triggers and more actions, but also just one action is enough. As soon as we talk about AI automations, we have the same thing, but with an LLM as brain included. And if we talk about AI agents, it's once again the same thing, but this time the brain also has tools, or it can call other LLMs or talk to other LLMs. So basically we have one CEO that uses different tools or can call other sub-workflows, and then you have an AI agent. So the LLM can basically write the email and then use the tool to send the email completely autonomously, without your intervention. And a trigger could be anything. It could be from WhatsApp, it could be from email, it could be a on-form submission, it could be from Google AdSense, it could be a Facebook lead, it could be on-row edit on Google Sheets, it could be, like I said, whatever. And also the action can be whatever. So congratulations, you know what we will build. Most of the time we will use n8n. We also use Flowise later and some other tools, but like I said, most of the time we use n8n. Because this is a gigantic and really cool tool. And don't worry if this is a little bit too much for you, at least right now. You will learn this step by step, and in the next video we will start with the basics. I want to show you what an API is. And of course, if you already know what an API is, you can also skip the video.